fan, man.
Stay in the car. Let me see your other hand.
I'm sorry.
Let me see your other hand.
Please, Ms. Officer.
Both hands.
I didn't do nothing.
Put your hands up right now. Let me see your other hand.
All right. What I do, though? What did we do?
Put your hand up there. Put your hand up.
All right, folks, this is perhaps one of the most important pieces of evidence, perhaps for the defense in the case involving the death of George Floyd. I want you to keep your eye on George Floyd's mouth. We're going to freeze the video in just a moment. But the theory of the defense is that George Floyd died from drugs that day. And they are going to argue that that little dot that you see in his mouth, I don't know what it is, but they're saying that's fentanyl. They're saying that's fentanyl, and that's how he died. He ingested these drugs as soon as he was approached by police. And here is something that has developed today now. They are now arguing, the defense is arguing, that this isn't the first time he's done this, that this is sort of the standard operating procedures for George Floyd when he's approached by police. They want to put in front of the jury a video, body cam, from back in 2019 where George Floyd is approached by police again. Now, I believe we have a piece of the transcript of what happened in when they approached him. We don't have the video yet, but do we have the transcript to put up? There we go. So the police officer says to him, open your mouth, spit out what you've got. Spit out what you've got. I'm going to tase you. Spit it out. George Floyd, I'm out. Police officer, he's eating all kinds of stuff. Police officer, don't jerk away from me. George Floyd, no, I'm not. No, I'm not, sir. It was one yellow pill. So what this defense team wants to do for Officer Lane and others, I presume, is to argue to this jury that this is what he does. He gets stopped by police. He's got drugs. He gets rid of the drugs by ingesting them. And in this case, that's how he died back in 2019. That's why he was taken to the hospital. This is the way he reacts. Let's bring in Court TV special contributor Ashley Banfield to talk about this. The video we're getting in-house tonight. We'll have all the video from 2019 for you tomorrow on the program. But in the meantime, Ashley, what do you think about this approach by the defense, bringing up what happened back in 2019 to try to make this argument to the jury?
Well, it's a really tough road to hoe. Let's just put it straight, okay? I understand why the state wanted to suppress this and fought really hard to keep this from coming out to the public. I also understand why the defense attorneys filed it publicly, because they want to be able to level the playing field. This is hard. I always have to choose my words so carefully in this topic because this is such an incendiary topic. George Floyd has a street named after him now, in Minneapolis, and he's becoming this iconic legend. And in some people's eyes, he's this man that could have done no wrong, was so innocent and was innocently, being brutalized by the police until he died. What the defense attorneys are going to show is that's not necessarily the narrative. And unless you were there and you saw the half hour before and the many minutes after, you would have a different perspective of everything that went on. And now what they're saying, Vinny, is that if you knew George Floyd in the years prior, he is not the man to be lionized and to be treated as though it's just good versus evil, right? Because this is what the jury pool is learning with all the protests and those who are saying that it was a knee on the neck. Well, there's some evidence that suggests that's not actually how he died, that there's autopsy evidence saying he didn't asphyxiate. So it is an uphill battle for sure to fight that narrative if you are these officers and their attorneys. But I think this video from a year prior is going to probably chip away at this sort of this person that was lionized, that was George Floyd, that was, the innocent man brutalized by these evil officers. I think it probably will do something to change that story. And like I said, it's overwhelming right now. The story in the press right now is overwhelmingly one-sided. But boy, oh boy, Vinny, when we see this video tomorrow, I am going to be fascinated because some of the things that George Floyd said in his, May 6th, 2019 arrest were identical to the things that he said in the May 2020 arrest. Like word for word, like, don't shoot. I'm not that kind of guy. Calling out for his mom. Like there's been a lot made of a man, you know, who was calling out for his mom because he was in the throes of death from the officer's actions. And it turns out a year prior, he was also calling out for his mom. Please, man, please. These are things that he said as well, the same way in the 2019 arrest. And this spits something out. That's another pattern. So I think it is extremely fascinating. Certainly from a legal perspective, the litigants in this case are going to go head to head over image and narrative and what the press has been putting out there about that fateful day that George Floyd died.
Right, and I think a lot of the reaction that we had was George Floyd's reaction. So let's take a look at a little bit more of it. Here he is, again, talking about those words, you know, about I can't breathe, which are looming so large in this case. Let's take a look.
Man, I'm scared as man. When I start breathing, it's gonna go off on me, man.
Pull your legs in.
Okay. Let me count to 3. Let me count to 3 and I'm going in. Please. I'm not trying to win. I get on the ground, anything. I can't stand this shit, man. He know it. Okay, can I talk to you, please?
As you get in this car, we can talk.
I'm claustrophobic.
I'm hearing you, but you're not working with me.
God, I'm claustrophobic, man.
Have your butt over here. I'm going to pull you in.
Get in the car.
Get me in the front, please.
No, you're not getting in the front.
I'm claustrophobic, so I was
Get in the car.
Okay, man, okay. I'm not a bad guy, man.
Get in the car.
I'm not a bad guy. Man. Please, officer. Please,
Sit.
please.
Take a seat.
Please, man. Please. No,
Take a seat.
I can't choke. I can't breathe, officer. Please.
You know, Ashley, for me, it's the trying to understand why he's saying what he's saying, why he's saying it the way he is, and giving some context to it. If the defense is able to take the video that, again, we're going to have on the program tomorrow night and get it in front of the jury, and if it is as similar as it seems, we haven't seen it yet, but we've looked down through the transcript, and there are definitely some constant themes throughout. But if we end up comparing these videos and they're that similar, the way he seems so panicked and frightful, all of a sudden, it doesn't seem like it's because of the actions of the officers, that it's what he's doing. It's not that he's scared of being shot. It's that's what he says when he's approached by police, you know? And yeah. I don't know how this is going to play. I've never seen anything like this before.
It's interesting, but it really underscores, and I'm going to just tout our own horn here, why court TV is important. Because we're not a 5-minute cable news story about a case. And the other cable news and even the evening news has given, the 5-minute story and they moved on. We, on the other hand, listened to the whole body cam, start to finish. It was over half an hour. You get a very different perspective of what these officers were doing and why they were doing what they were doing. And I have to be honest with you, and people will think I'm crazy to say this, but they were showing a great deal of restraint, strangely enough to say that, because everybody thinks that's the last thing they did. They got charged with second-degree murder or assisting. But if you watch from the very beginning, George Floyd says, "I can't breathe" several times when he's standing up and just walking. So I think by the time they got a half hour into this and they'd heard George Floyd say over and over, please, don't, I can't breathe, but he hadn't even gotten anywhere near the cruiser. They're becoming immune to this, right? Because of course he could breathe. No one was touching him, and he was very agitated. And so I think, look, it's the jury that's going to matter. The rest of everybody else can scream and yell, and I think it's unfortunate if you're going to scream and yell, you better have watched all the evidence and all the tape before you scream and yell. But it's the jury that needs to see everything, and they need to be given the honest picture. And they will be the arbiters of this, unless there's a plea bargain. But it really is enlightening, I think, if you look at this just from a legal perspective. Please don't come at me and say that I'm racist because I'm saying these things. I'm just looking at the evidence. And I'm looking at the case that the defense attorneys will present to the jurors. And I'm also looking at a lot of the evidence that most people out there have not seen. Sadly, they're making a lot of judgments about a case that they have not seen. And I think these stories have played out before. There have been judgments made about cases where people haven't seen all of the evidence, but the narrative was loud, proud, and echoed.